Howdy folks, welcome back to Black Sheep Meadow. I'm Brent.
And I'm Amber.
We got a good one for you today.
It's hot. It's just very hot.
So everybody's been asking us in the comment section or in personal life or even on other social media platforms, Brent, Amber, when are y'all going to start on y'all's fall garden?
And the truth is that we are, but not yet. But we kind of have.
Yeah, we kind of have. So
and we kind of are.
We're going to talk about some of the plans for the fall garden here in just a minute and some of the things. We've still got a lot of spring garden that is really doing well considering the heat that we've had. We are now into month 2 of 100 plus degrees most days.
And we still have several squash plants that are doing really well, especially the one on the hugelkultur mound. We still have some tomatoes that are trying to hang in there. They're slowly cooking on the vine. I'm having to pick them earlier than I normally would. And we're fighting those leaf-legged bugs.
Leaf-footed bugs.
Oh, leaf-footed bugs, I'm sorry. These little guys, they came on with a vengeance this year.
Yep, I've seen several reports this year of the leaf-footed bug being a very major problem, really central Texas, but all over the country as well.
They just like came out of nowhere. We've seen them in the years past, but this year they are like, they're really thick, and this weather, I don't know if it's the weather or just the climate rotation, but that's kind of how the ecosystem works. One year you're going to have really bad one bug. I'm just really glad that this year's not a mosquito year.
Correct. We've been plagued with mosquitoes in the past.
Yes.
But that's for our personal. They don't really.
But I'm gonna like knock on wood because we really haven't battled them at all.
So we still have somewhere between another 9 to 12 weeks of this really hot weather, and it's going to take a little bit. You know, we're our main in-ground garden. We're going to wait till probably the later part of August, first part of September, to really get. We're going to do a cowpea. And
purple whole cowpea.
Correct. And it is hopefully, I've seen anywhere between 60 to 80 days on these, and there's going to be a lot of factor in that on weather, what the temperature, how much rain we get, all that's going to play a factor if we're going to be able to harvest early or late, you know, whether we're on the light or the heavy end of that 60 to 80 days.
And if you're not familiar, a purple hull is essentially a black-eyed pea or a cousin of a black-eyed pea. It's a very southern thing. Mm-hmm. People in the South love these. Tends to be a favorite, and I think it's a temperature thing. We grow them really well in the heat.
They favor heat.
So that's nice, and it's going to provide us with a couple things. There's a couple reasons why we're planting these.
So first and foremost, if y'all are new to the channel or first now tuning in or haven't heard me say it 1,000 times before, Amber and myself are attempting to grow 80% of all of our own food this year. And I've set some very tough standards for myself. I've been pushing myself very hard. I've looked into what we consume on a regular basis, how much we eat, and what it would take to produce that 80%. And I can tell you that the average human consumes somewhere between 3 to 5 pounds of food a day. So I've left that very strenuous on myself because we're very active in producing our own food. So therefore we're going to burn more calories. Therefore we're going to need to eat more. So I've left this at 5 pounds of food per day, per person, 365 days a year. 80% of that comes somewhere, and I don't remember the exact number, but I think it's between 2,900 and 3,000 pounds of food. I've left myself with a target goal of 4,000 pounds, simply because we're not going to eat corn cobs, potato skins, eggshells, or maybe the bones of the ribs. So
the short of that is that we're trying to grow 4,000 pounds of consumable food.
And by doing that, first off, we know that a lot of our produce, I can tell you this far into our journey, it's a lot easier to grow meat than it is produce.
Yes.
On the produce side, I find ourselves, we can produce a large bounty, but we're stripping the land in doing so. So we have to have rotational crops, we have to compost, we have to do here in just a minute.
Amendment.
Yeah, we're going to do soil amendments, but here in just a minute, I'm going to show y'all how we are going to till in our corn stalk, sunflowers, and our watermelon patch into, basically we're taking the green-like material and we're going to turn that into the soil to add nitrogen. The cowpeas that we're going to plant is also, they've got, I forget what they're called, but the cowpea is essentially going to create microbial life that will then replenish the nitrogen in the soil.
They call them nitrogen fixers.
Correct.
That they help the soil retain and have usable nitrogen. The other thing that I'm looking forward to is the weed protection, to keep the weeds from growing back into the garden.
Correct.
Hopefully.
But the cowpea is going to serve multiple things there. So it's for our food consumption, it's going to go to our total weight, which ultimately, I'll tell y'all right now, I do not believe we're going to hit the 4,000 pound mark. I think
it's going to be close.
We may. We'll see. We still got 6 months or a little less than 6 months to complete this.
We still have a little bit of time, but
the cowpea is going to give us nitrogen for the soil, because next year we're going to put a sweet corn right back in this spot. And of course, I'll have to do some amendments there on phosphorus and potassium and all the other micronutrients that are out there.
Which is where the soil tests come in handy if you guys are not doing soil tests for your in-ground garden. Soil Savvy's who we use, and we've had excellent luck with them. And we can go back to past soil tests from 3 years ago and pull up the chart and see where our soil was. Relatively inexpensive.
We've done, basically I put myself on a 5-year plan for our in-ground garden, where to get the soil or where it needs to be. And I can tell you, when we started, Central Texas in this particular area that we're in is almost straight sand.
Very, very sandy.
It was very, very tough the first few years. Matter of fact, looking back at it now, I don't even know how we were able to grow anything.
I'm not sure.
Our first year that we tried, we probably could have eaten the seeds that we purchased and been better off.
Probably could have.
So, anyways, we're coming along, and our organic matter in the soil is what we're after now. So that's why we're tilling in our corn stalks. We're going to add the cowpeas. Of course, that'll get tilled in this winter. I've got a bunch of wood chips and hay that we're going to till into it.
Yeah, so if you saw in probably the last video or one of the more recent videos, the in-ground garden had gotten quite overgrown, and it happened for a couple of reasons, and that a lot had to do with how the irrigation was set up for the watermelons and the sunflowers to keep them going. We couldn't get in the garden with anything because of the drip tape. So it was kind of a double edge there. It overgrew, but now we're going to have all of that's going to go into the soil. So all that grass, all the clippings from all the corn and all of that's going to go right back into the soil, which hopefully at the end of the day improves it or helps improve it. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but in a few months.
Yeah.
So that's always nice. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but we are definitely planning that fall stage. So we got the cowpeas. We're also going to seed start cabbage.
So that'll be closer towards the end of August. Indoors, we're going to seed start cabbage.
And broccoli.
We're planning on doing a lot more broccoli this year than we did last year. And I think that's just part of the Borascas family. If we wanted to do Brussels sprouts again or any of that, mid-August is when we would seed start.
Right, yeah. So we've got all of that planned. We've got all the seeds here for it. We've got the seed starting mix here for it. It's just you're trying to wait. You're preparing, but you've got to, you got that timeline, that balancing act that you have to do.
Really, the next 6 to 8 weeks or so, the heat of summer, I'm going to be out dealing with the heat. We've got to finish our turkey run.
Yep.
We've got to finish some stuff on the tool room in the barn. There's just a lot of stuff that we're going to do outside of the gardening, just simply because nothing's going to grow out here when it's 102 every day.
We're going to get it all ready for the fall. We're going to get it prepped and ready so that when it's time, we can just rock and roll. But yeah, we have a lot of projects going around. We have more turkeys coming next week.
Monday.
This guy over here.
He'll be here Monday or Tuesday.
This guy over here with more turkeys. So we really got to get the yard finished. Like you said, we have other projects that we're trying to work on, but the heat is just killing us. So, like you can tell we're sitting here just sweating. And we did work early this morning, and then when it got too hot, we stopped, and now it's later in the evening, and we're still just sweating just sitting here. So we've got a lot of work to do.
We're going to get some implements swapped out on the tractor. I'm going to get the garden tilled in. Y'all hang in there with us and follow along.
We'll see y'all in a little bit.
Alrighty, so as y'all can see, we got a lot of organic matter tilled into our soil today. I know sooner or later someone's going to pop up with, Brent, why don't you do a no-till garden? You know, tilling is actually destroying the soil. Well, we will get to that eventually, but what we started with was nothing. So we had pretty much straight sand, and I wanted to do Amber will get a close-up here. I took 2 different soil samples from the garden and just outside the garden. The soil sample that's on the left is what was freshly tilled in today, versus the soil sample that was on the right is almost straight sand. Now, I did till about an extra 5 foot at the end, because every year we are forever expanding. The soil that was at the end was so compacted the tiller didn't want anything doing with it. Everything that's in the main garden has really fluffed up nice, so it promotes good root growth.
We've been working really hard to improve the soil in this particular area, and our hay pasture too.
Correct.
But the garden part of it has definitely gotten a lot more attention, and it's showing. It's definitely showing.
Really, the organic material in the soil is what we've been lacking, and we've done a really good job. I can't tell you how many yards of wood chips that I've added to this, and I think even last year I added something like 14 yards of almost straight compost to this.
Yes, we've been garden as well. Really, and I don't think people realize that. They talk a lot about, oh, I have seeds, I'll plant them in the ground and they'll grow. Well, I mean, to a sense, we've seen the volunteer pumpkins grow.
Yep.
But that is not the norm. That is not the normal. That is not the everyday, especially in large quantities. Yeah, they might grow, but are you going to produce? And are you going to produce the whole garden?
Yep.
Probably not. You need to amend the soil. So this is a really good side by side.
So
now, what else are we doing to the garden now? Because it's not finished.
So I'm still going to add wood chips to this. We're still, as we were just talking before, we are not ready to plant the fall garden yet, because we still have many weeks of really high temperatures. But we're preparing for the fall garden. What we can do now, so we don't have to do later. We're going to add lots of wood chips to this still, and I've got some soil mixed with some compost, and I've got 2 or 3 compost piles that were incompletely used from last year. So I'm going to take all those scrap compost piles, I'm going to add them into the ground to open up an area that I need on the other side of the property for starting new compost piles.
So it's going to get tilled several more times between now and the time we plant the cowpeas, just as us adding them in. So this till that we did today was just to try to break up some of the organic matter that was already there.
We are just getting the organic matter below the soil surface, keeping the wind from blowing it away.
Get it mixed in, get it chopped up a little.
Probably about December, January, I'm going to add, we have a bunch of chicken manure, because we got a lot of chickens, from meat chickens to laying hens, and we got turkeys now. So all the poultry manure will probably get added to this probably about December. And of course, y'all gonna get videos on all that.
Oh yeah. But the chicken manure can be a little hot, is like they like to say. So we're gonna do it in that December, January time, where the garden is kind of dormant and it'll have time to sit and let the nutrients do what they need to do in the soil.
Yep.
And
in the meantime, I want you to get a close-up of this for them.
I'll get a close-up. I'll play it over where he was talking.
So, in the meantime, guys, become ungovernable. Don't depend on the system. You know, put a little faith and dependence in yourself. You can do it. It's not that hard. Well, it's hard. It's hard work.
It's hard work, and it's hot. I mean, we're out there. If you like what we're doing, please leave us a like. Think about subscribing to the channel, share our content. If you have any questions, how are you guys preparing for your fall garden? Everybody's asking us, but we haven't heard too many other people talking about preparing for their fall garden. So let us know down in the comments what all you're planning to do this fall, and if you've already started, that type of thing. I know parts of the country, though, this is still their prime time growing season. So we're kind of ahead and behind all at the same time.
So
we will see you guys
next week.